Okay, to make this a little smaller. Okay. Well, I'm really, I feel silly. I was talking for so long by myself. Okay, so this is the, and I should start really from the beginning. Okay, I'm going to go faster though this time. The Rabbi, this is the drasha for Bereshit from 1940. He starts out with Bereshit bara Elokim and says, for the sake of Am Yisrael and for the sake of the Torah that are called Reshit. But also this Gemara you didn't hear? Someone tell me. None of it? Okay.
Yeah, we mamish got nothing. So we're starting from the very beginning.
Okay, well, listen, I prepared really well because I gave half the shir again just now. So I'm ready.
You get the dry run.
Now I'm really ready. Okay, here we go. Ki'ita b'Gemara, Sanhedrin. It says in the Gemara Sanhedrin, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. I'm just going to summarize. I'm also tired. I'm going to summarize this Gemara, okay? The summarize, wait, I'm really sorry. I need 1 second to answer a kind of a pressing thing. Okay, so the Gemara talks about a case where people are eating and drinking in a restaurant or at a party, and they're singing verses from the Torah in a frivolous way. And the Torah herself, who's personified here, complains about it. And then God asks the Torah, follow my cursor, and this time I'll keep my eye on the internet. Amarla biti, the Torah says, my daughter. The God says to the Torah, my daughter, people are eating and drinking. What do you want them to do? I mean, we know from lots of sources that we're supposed to eat and drink when we're, having a meal. We're supposed to do Torah when we're having a meal. So the Torah says to God, if they are Bale Mikra, if they are people who are masters of the Bible, they should study Bible. If they're Bale Mishnah, masters of the Mishnah, they should study Mishnah. And if they're Bale Talmud, if they're masters of Talmud, then they can study the laws of the different holidays that are found in the Talmud, depending on the season. So the Rebbe asked on this 2 questions. He says, Al pi pashut, first of all, he says, Ma she'ela HaKadosh Baruch Hu shoel Torah. Why does God ask the Torah this question? God knows just as much as the Torah whatever the answer is. God wrote the Torah. So why do we have this dialogue between God and the Torah, which is, rather strange? And the second question he asks, Lama parta Torah bepratiut? Why does it get so specific in its answer? If they're masters of Bible, learn Bible. If they're masters of Mishnah, learn Mishnah. If they're masters of Talmud, learn Talmud. I mean, why didn't it just say, let them study Torah, and everyone will study what they know how to study? It's kind of obvious. Okay, so I'm going down a few lines. I hope you can see my cursor here. I'm going to start here, where he starts to answer his questions. He says, "If shar limud zchut hu zeh shelamed HaKadosh Baruch Hu alehem." Perhaps this is God defending the Jewish people from the question that the Torah asked about them. Al hitnatzlut Torah shekorim psukim bebate mishtaot b'shat shochlim v'shotim. On the fact that the Torah complains that we're frivolously quoting verses while we're eating and drinking. It says, Shayetzer hara moshel azalehem. The Yetzer hara is strong when people are in the middle of eating and drinking. As when you're already engaging in physical activities, physical pleasures, so your Yetzer hara is stronger. And he quotes another Gemara that says that a lion is much more powerfully roaring when it just had a good meal of meat than if it just ate some straw. That's when people are in the middle of a good plentiful meal that they enjoy, that they get going, and then their Yetzer hara is strong, and so they're not going to necessarily do exactly the right thing. And the Torah answered, I'm on the last line of the first page, Im bale mikrahem, right? And very specifically, a Torah person should learn Torah, a Mishnah person Mishnah, a Gemara person should learn Gemara. Okay, moving over to the second page. Shemi shalomei Torah, ve'en gam atzmuto mishtaneh leTorah ulekedusha, hu rak ha'argaz shenimtza bo Sfarim, v'hu ba'atzmo eitz kemo shahaya. So now he's going to start to tell us, not just explaining that Gemara, but now he's going to start to tell us principles in our service of Hashem. He says, someone who studies Torah and does not become Torah himself, it does not become transformed essentially into Torah and holiness, he's only like a box holding books. He's a bookcase, and he himself remains like wood. Okay, so basically what he's saying here is that someone, when they study Torah, it has to be a radical transformation of their entire personality, that they become a Torah personality. They become a person who personifies Torah. And that is what is supposed to happen. And if it doesn't happen, okay, so then they remain like a bookcase, a box of books. And now he brings an interesting source to support this idea. It says, Gam midrash roim chiluk zen. We also see in the midrash this distinction between someone who learns Torah and someone who embodies Torah. It says, Sherebi Meir, כשרצה להציל את אחר מגהנום, אמר מצילין תיק הספר עם הספר, מצילין את אחר בשביל תורתו. Okay, we need a little bit of background here. One of Rabbi Akiva's greatest students was Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Meir's main teacher, other than Rabbi Akiva, was Elisha ben Abuya. Elisha ben Abuya was one of the four people who went together with Rabbi Akiva, four altogether, into the Pardes, into the mystical dimensions of reality. And as we all know, only Rabbi Akiva went in peace and came out in peace. Ben Zoma went crazy, Ben Azai died, and Elisha ben Abuya became a heretic. And according to some of the sources, even went over to the Roman side. Nonetheless, Rabbi Meir continued to study Torah from him, saying, I know how to take the fruit and spit out the peels, meaning that even though he's a heretic, I still can learn important things from him, and I'm not going to decline to do that. Okay, so here the Gemara says, or the Midrash, that Rabbi Meir the rabbis always refer to Elisha ben Abuya as Acher, the other one. They don't even want to say his name, even though he is quoted in Pirkei Avot one time under his name of Elisha ben Abuya, but he's usually referred to as Acher, as the other one. Very, very negative thing. So after he died, Rabbi Meir wanted to save him from being in hell, and he said, Matzilin tik sefer im sefer. If there's a fire on Shabbat and you run into the shul to save the Sefer Torah, you can also save the mantle, the cloth wrapping around the jacket that's around the Torah. Even though that itself doesn't have holiness, it would seem, but you can save it together with the Torah. And so too, we're going to save from hell, Acher, Elisha ben Abuya, because he's full of Torah. He studied much Torah. He was a very giant Talmid Chacham. He's one of the great scholars of the Mishnah. So even though he really, really went dramatically off the derech, as we would say today, from being a great Torah scholar to being a heretic and maybe even a traitor, according to some sources, to the Jewish people, he still has Torah, and therefore he should be saved. Parenthetically, it's interesting, here he's saving him from the fires of hell. Not his body, but his soul. He's trying to save his soul from the hellfire, so to speak. Okay, so now the Rebbe is going to explain this midrash. Hainu shimshil et acher rak litik shnimtza bo sefer. Okay, he compares acher, Elisha ben Abuya, only to the mantle in which you have the Sefer Torah. In the same way that we save the mantle with the Sefer Torah, we'll try to save the soul of Acher from hell, because he has Torah inside of him. But he only has Torah inside of him. He's not Torah anymore. He's not like a Sefer Torah. He's only like a covering of the Sefer Torah. He's only like a bookcase that holds within it the Torah information. Okay, so here you see this is how he's making this, bringing this to support the distinction that was made before. Someone who's doesn't really embody the Torah, and Elisha ben Abuya did not after he became a heretic, so he is like a bookcase and nothing more. Masha ein kain, which is not the case, al Talmid Chacham Amiti v'Tzadik, a great Torah scholar who's real and still righteous. Omer la Gemara, the Gemara says something else. Kama tipshei hanu inshi demakme kame sefer Torah v'lo makme kame gavra rabba. The Gemara says, how foolish are people that stand up when they see a sefer Torah, but they don't stand up in front of a great person, meaning a Torah scholar. Because a Torah, or let me finish the sentence, Hainu shimshilu oto, a person who's a great Torah scholar and a righteous person is compared to a sefer Torah, atzmo, not just to a container of a sefer Torah. Vod yoter, and even more so. He's not only like a sefer Torah, he's even more than a sefer Torah. And certainly lo latik bilvad, not only like the container, like the mantle of the Torah. I remember many, many, many years ago when the chief rabbi, Rav Avram Shapiro Zatzal, Rosh Yeshiva of Merkaz Arav, when he was chief rabbi of Israel, he went to America together with Rav Mordechai Eliyahu Zatzal, the Sephardi chief rabbi, and they visited all the Gedolim in America, the Lubavitcher Rebbe and Rav Moshe Feinstein, this was in the 1980s, and also Rav Soloveitchik, and they went to Yeshiva University to see Rav Soloveitchik, and Rav Avram Shapiro gave us shiur there. And Rav Soloveitchik came out, and Rav Avram ran up and kissed him. And later he said, and my friend was there, he told me this, later, right after that, Rav Avram said, mitzvah l'nashek sefer Torah. It's a mitzvah to kiss a sefer Torah. So not only did he stand up for Rav Soloveitchik, he ran over and kissed him like you kiss a sefer Torah. And so this is this distinction between, now I'll go back and tie it into what we're doing here. The distinction between a person who only knows Torah intellectually, but has not internalized it, they're like a container for Torah. Whereas a person who has internalized the Torah, they themselves become a kind of Torah. For those of you that are more into yeshivish talk, they become a chatza shel Torah. Okay? They become Torah itself. Now he's going to bring this back to and explain the Gemara that we opened with. V'zot anta Torah. This explains why the Torah, in answering God's question about the people at the party, went into so much detail. Im bale mikrahem, if they're masters of the Bible, they should study Bible. Meaning, im hem atzmutam nasu bale mikra. If they have become bale mikra, meaning, you know what, Baal also means married. If they're a husband, if they're married to the Torah, meaning they have a deep relationship with the Torah is not just an intellectual pursuit. The Torah is a deep part of their essential being. As gam b'shat shochlim v'shotim lo yanichu liyitzram shikabra behem. Then when they're eating and drinking, they're not going to let their yetzer hara take over them and act frivolously. In bale mishnahem, if they're masters of Mishnah, meaning they're married to the Mishnah is their whole essence. They live and breathe Mishnah. Like my teacher, Rabbi Professor Zlotnick, many, many years ago, who towards the end of his life would repeat every day, would review an entire Seder of the Mishnah, 1/6 the entire Mishnah every day. Right? And he knew it by heart. He didn't learn anything new, I don't think, when he did that. It was his essence to recite the Mishnah endlessly. He knew it every detail backwards and forwards. Then in that case, afilu mishitzro mitgaberbo, mikol makom kivan shem batzmam bale mikra mishnah v'chulei tzuchin litgaber alav. People like that have internalized and embodied the Torah and have themselves become Torah, then they can be at a party, they can be eating and drinking, but they're not going to behave frivolously. And if Torah comes out of their mouths, it'll be Torah of respect, Torah of study, Torah of passion, and not frivolously reciting Torah as though it was just some other song or verses. Va'od amra Torah. And furthermore, in that source, the Torah says to God, that if the people are Baalei Talmud, if they know Talmud, which in this case means they understand halacha, also Jewish law on a high level, then Yasku Be'ilchot Pesach bePesach, Be'ilchot Atzeret ba'Atzeret, Be'ilchot Chag b'Chag. Then they should study the laws of Pesach around Pesach time. They should study the laws of Shavuos around Shavuos time. They should study the laws of Sukkot around Sukkot time. Parenthetically, in the rabbis, in the Mishnah and the Gemara, Sukkot is called Chag, just holiday. You don't have to say Sukkot. Chag by itself means Sukkot because it's the most joyous holiday. It gets just the name of holiday by itself. You know, it means Sukkot. Okay, but he's building towards what his message for us. Shagama Zman Yererotam, that they'll be awoken, they'll be aroused to the Torah and the Torah study by the time. And as whatever time of year it is, whatever the season is, whatever the nature of reality that's going on at that time is, right? Which is not necessarily only have to do with the seasons, it has to do with what's going on in the world, right? For us, Simchas Torah from now on will have one kind of joy associated with it, and we'll have other associations with it. And that will arouse us to other kinds of thoughts, actions, memories, study, etc. Shagama zman ye'orer otam, also time will arouse them. Ki zeu inyan gadol, likvoa lo itim l'Torah. This is a very big thing, to set times to study Torah. Okay, and we know that the Gemara in Shabbat says that when you get to heaven, one of the questions that they ask you at the pearly gates is, Kavati itim l'Torah. Did you set specific times to study Torah? Sha'az afilu im ha'adam ba'atzmo shocheach o yesh lo miniot mikol makom hazman me'ororo u'mechazko lahavlig ala miniot. That even if a person forgets to study or has miniot, has things that prevent him, things that disturb him, that distract him, and keep in mind, let's remember the context. He's speaking here to people in the Warsaw Ghetto in the middle of the Holocaust. They have more distractions and more trouble to try to study or do any mitzvah or any tefillah or any avodat Hashem than anyone else. Absolutely. Nonetheless, mikol makom, the time itself arouses them and strengthens them to be able to get past all those things that are distracting them or holding them back. Because for example, like we said before, the example of the holidays, when it's getting close to Pesach, so yeah, of course I'm going to study the laws of Pesach. I know that I have to, nothing's going to hold me back. I have to review the laws of Pesach. I don't want to eat chametz on Pesach. Before Sukkot, obviously I'm going to review the laws of the Sukkah and the laws of the Arbat Aminim, the 4 species, because I want to do those mitzvot properly, and I'm excited about it, right? But it's also the zman of whatever's going on in my life, Am Yisrael's life, the world, all affects me. But if I'm a person of Torah, if I become a person who embodies the Torah, so then everything that happens arouses my connection with Torah. I see everything in the light of Torah, and that's how I react. And now he finally brings it back to his situation, again, without getting specific, which he almost never does, but speaking general. And he says, V'chein ata, so too now. And you can imagine people sitting around Shabbos morning at the meager Kiddush, underground, hiding somewhere, and they are following this drasha from the Rebbe, and all of a sudden he says, and so too now, and they look up and realize, okay, now he's going to tell us, what does this mean for us now, here, in the middle of the Holocaust? Try to picture that reality. So, ata, sheyesh lanu miniot rabot. We have a lot of things to distract us and prevent us from studying Torah. Lo shel achila v'shtiyah. And not that we have too much food and drink, right? In the Gemara we started with, people were distracted by their Yetzer Hara because they had a lot of food and drink. They're at a party, and they're acting frivolously. And then what's preventing them from properly engaging with the Torah is the frivolity that grows out of excess and abundance and leads to forgetfulness of the source of that abundance, which is Hashem. Here now in the ghetto, we don't have this problem of having too much food and drink to be our distraction. Rak adarab, the opposite. Shel tzarot v'yisurim rachmana letzlan. Shel troubles and sufferings, heaven should protect us. Mikol makom, nonetheless. And now here the Rebbe is going to give people חיזוק, give them strength to try to continue to study Torah. And we, with all we're going through now, are still in, obviously, I don't need to say it, in a million times better situation than people that he was talking to. And if they can be encouraged to study Torah and not let all the distractions and the difficulties overcome that, kol v'chomer, certainly so can we. It says, mikol makom, nonetheless, halo l'kol ish, every Jewish man, okay, Jewish person, afilu hasocher u'bal malacha, even a businessman or a worker, hayu shiurim l'Torah. In the past, they all went to some shiurim. They went to daf yomi, or in those days it was very popular to go to Mishnah shiur, or to they called to study Ein Yaakov, just the stories of the Torah, of the Gemara. Everyone went to some kind of shiurim. L'chein zmanehem shel hashiurim akvuim batzmam yazru lo shelo yaznicham. The times of those shiurim, which were set, right, to set times to study Torah, should strengthen him and not to ignore them. In other words, it should also be if you go to daf yomi shiur every day at 7 in the morning before or after davening, so then it's 7 o'clock, you should remember, wow, I should be in daf yomi, even if you're in a situation of difficulty. And maybe there's not even a shiur, so well, at least I'll open the Gemara and try to read it myself, something, right? The times itself should arouse us because they should have become part of our internal clock. V'adarabba. Opposite is true. And here he's going to say something that's a little counterintuitive. Ata sheyesh lanu yoter panai tzrichim b'hatchalat hazman likvo lanu yoter shiurim me'asher mikodem. Now that we have more free time, we have to try at the beginning of the Zman, it's a very interesting comment, to set more shiurim, more Torah classes than we did before. Hashem yirachem, Hashem will be merciful, v'yoshi'enu, and save us, v'nuchal lasok b'torah v'avodah, mitoch harchava, we'll be able to be engaged in studying Torah and serving Hashem from expansiveness, from goodness, from a good, proper, and healthy place, and not from a place of suffering. Now, I want to go back over this last sentence. First of all, he says, now that we have more time. That sounds very paradoxical. Like in the ghetto, who had more time? But in the beginning, when and this is still, right, a year into the war, a little bit over a year into the war, a lot of people aren't working. It's not yet everyone has been taken to slave labor. The vast majority have not yet been taken into sent to concentration camps or to extermination camps. And sometimes you see pictures from the ghetto and you just see there's this, people are all in the streets. I think there was a period where people had nothing to do and they're wandering around, maybe looking for more food, looking for something to do, with everything being sort of crazy. And he says, this is a time to try to have more shiurim. And he says, and here it's amazing, and those of you that were in yeshiva will understand this. B'tchilat hazman. The semesters in yeshiva are called zmanim, times or seasons. Like there's Elul Zman, the beginning of the year, and Elul before the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Then there's Choref Zman, the winter Zman, the time until Pesach. And then after Pesach vacation, then there's Zman Kayet, summer Zman until Tisha B'Av. And amazingly here he says, B'tchilat hazman, as if to say, we're still having a yeshiva schedule going on. And he was, of course, a Rosh Yeshiva of the yeshiva that he set up in Warsaw, Dat Moshe, in 1923, which no longer existed by this time, obviously. But nonetheless, he still tries to put people in that framework of, it's the Tchilat hazman. We just finished Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah. This is a few days after Simchas Torah, right? It's the Parashat Bereshit. And we need to get back into the schedule. So it's a really amazing thing. I will point out that in later drushas, like a year or so later, he already says that things have reached a situation where he says, in the past, I encouraged people to keep learning. Now I realize that it's basically impossible. As there are later drushes where he encourages people, if you can't really learn, if it's hard to concentrate, so at least say Tehillim, read Psalms, do this, do that. He later on says, the suffering is so intense and people are so completely physically, emotionally, and spiritually shattered to smithereens that no one can do anything. And you can't expect anyone to do anything. But we're far from that stage at this point. Now, I want to say, lahavdil, elef havdalot, and a million times different than this. When I went, those of you, a number of family people are on this chat, even though I don't see right now exactly who's on and who's not. But my son Sion and his wife and 7 kids, who were Baruch Hashem, were saved from Gaza Strip area and taken to a hotel in Jerusalem on Monday evening. So I was at the hotel on Tuesday and on Wednesday, yesterday and the day before, and there are about 1,000 people from his town in this hotel. And you walk in and there's utter chaos there. I mean, one thing you see as soon as you walk in is every car that comes by is taking in food and clothes and games and etc. And there's you look around and you see teenage kids like hanging out outside. And so, yeah, all these people right now just had this horrific several days of suffering, and they're all thanking God that they're alive and they're now in a safe place. And then you say, and these people have nothing to do right now. Like, they're not working. They're not in school. There's no schools in Israel now, right? Although my son Sion went back yesterday for 2 days to begin to work on to guard and to run their town, Neve, again, because there's agricultural stuff. There's animals that need to be fed. There's stuff that needs to be done there. So the men are going back in shifts of 2 days at a time to make sure the place doesn't completely fall apart. But immediately, since it is a very strong Torah community, they immediately arranged shiurim. So there's a lot of learning there going on already. But you walk in, the first thing you are struck by is this massive amount of people, and this is repeating itself all over Israel in different hotels and places like that, who basically right now have nothing to do unless they really take hold of themselves and put things into effect. I know my son Mayan and his wife Chaim yesterday went and Chaim did kind of healing art projects for women all day, women and girls the whole day. But people need to be focused or else they can lose it, okay? But that's obviously very, very different than what we're looking at here. Okay, let me go back now and finish reading this piece here. And for some reason, my screen is a little bit blocked now. I don't know why. Wait, let's see. Okay, better. Okay. I'm in the last paragraph now. Nachzor lahana. Let's now go back to where we started. Kivan shehem be'etzem bale mikra bale mishnah. Since the people we're talking about have become essentially people of Torah, people of Mishnah, they've imbibed it. They're no longer just the container. They are it. They're the real thing. So they're able to overcome all kinds of troubles and issues and bothers that distract them from Torah study and from serving God. If, like in the Gemara, we open with having plenty to eat and drink and therefore becoming complacent, or the opposite, what we're now enduring, difficulty and suffering. And that goes back to the very beginning of the piece. And this is, by the way, typical. If you want to learn Aish Kodesh, typically in Aish Kodesh, many of the drashot have a chiastic scheme, A, B, B, A. The Rebbe asks 2 questions, answers the second question, and then answers the first question. If you keep that structure in mind, it'll sometimes help you work your way through the drasha. So, okay, he first mentioned the Bereshit bara Elokim and the Rashi that said the Torah was created for Am Yisrael, and for the world was created for Am Yisrael and for the Torah that are called Bereshit. Then he went into that whole Gemara and analyzed all that, and now he's going to go back to the opening Rashi. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'aretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Bishvil Yisrael v'haTorah, for Yisrael, Am Yisrael, and for the Torah, that are both called Reshit, they're both called the first ones. Kevan she'etzem, and now we also see, let me just say, that when Am Yisrael, when a Jewish person studies Torah in a real way, not in just in an external intellectual way only, but really absolutely internalizes the Torah so much that it becomes part of him, that he becomes a chefza shel Torah, that he himself becomes a being of Torah, becomes a walking sefer Torah. So then essentially the Torah and Am Yisrael become one, right? Like a person, a Jew, he said, is married to the Torah. Bale Mikra, Bale Mishnah, the husband of the Torah, the husband of the Mishnah, husband of the Gemara. So then we're one. And we both have the status of Reshit, of the beginning one. And for Yisrael, the world was created. And for the Torah, world was created. Kevan she'etzem ha'olam b'shvil Yisrael v'Torahi. Since the whole world is based upon Am Yisrael and the Torah. L'chein af sheyesh zmanim shechas v'shalom olam keneged Yisrael v'ha'Torahu. Even though there are times, and he's speaking about the Holocaust, when the whole world, certainly the world around them, all of Eastern Europe, right, seems to be against Israel and against the Torah. And in many places, he talks about how the Nazis he hints at it, doesn't talk about it openly. The people who hate Am Yisrael so much, in a deeper way, they hate the Torah also, or primarily. Mikol makom, nonetheless, mikavim laHashem. We hope to Hashem. We look to Hashem. Shi'itgaleh b'meira shuv etzem ha'olam yoshio et Yisrael v'Torah. That Hashem will reveal Himself quickly, and the etzem ha'olam, the real world, will be there and will save the Torah and Am Yisrael. Reshita machshava yitgaleh, the initial stage of Hashem's thought in creating the world will be revealed. Shakol b'shvil Torah v'Yisrael, amen. That everything for Yisrael and for the Torah, amen. In other words, that everything will be done in a revealed way, and that we won't be living in a world where we feel that everything is hidden. I'd be honored if everyone, whoever feels comfortable, opens their camera. The world will be a place where we'll see that the Torah and Am Yisrael have a central role. Now, I do want to say that by and large, it's been very, very heartening the last few days from what I see, that in general, that we see that a lot of the world is really with us, that we don't feel right now in Israel that the whole world is against us like we sometimes feel. And certainly in the Holocaust, obviously that was really the case. But I think we feel now, we see that, America and almost all the European countries are very, very, very powerfully standing with us in a way that's very strengthening. I mean, I saw today, so many things going around. A video of I think Josh Pittleman, my son-in-law, sent of people in the street in Tokyo singing Hebrew songs in solidarity, and just is so overwhelming. So that's one of the signs of light for us, in addition to the unity in Israel, which is and the solidarity, which is unbelievable, and the Mesirut Nefesh, the self-sacrifice of all different kinds of people in all different kinds of ways here, is very, very, very heartwarming. Bottom line is that I think that from one of the things that we need to get from this, hi Dina, is that the Rebbe is, again, as I've said before, the Rebbe is talking to his Chassidim in the drushes that we learned in the earlier shiurim this week. The message was kind of, if the Rebbe is still giving messages of emunah, of keeping faith in his situation, then how much more so can we be strong in our own faith today? And I think the message today from the Rebbe for this week's Parashat, the beginning of the Zman, as he says, right after the holidays, when we're going into the new year, is that if he's telling people in the Warsaw Ghetto, don't let all the distractions and all the sufferings prevent you from learning Torah and setting times for Torah and even trying to strengthen your Torah learning. So which is what the world is about and what Am Yisrael is about. So we certainly should take that to heart as well. And I don't know how that happened. I thought I was there the whole time. Excuse me. Thanks, Moshe. That obviously we can do that as well. And obviously we should dedicate all of our learning and shiurim to the protection of our soldiers and the refuah of the wounded people and the return of all the hostages safely, and the comforting of all the families that need comforting. It's just so hard, but whatever, everyone does what they can. So part of what all of us can do, and certainly the people that are abroad, is to study Torah with the proper intentions, also to internalize it and to become everyone on their own tiny level, walking Sefer Torah instead, or walking a few letters of the Torah. So that's all for now. Shabbat Shalom and Bisarot Tova, good tidings. And if anyone wants to say anything or ask a question, obviously, I'm still here.
So are you doing these every day? I guess not tomorrow.
I don't know. I wasn't planning to do any of them. Rabbi Moshe Grossman here is fully responsible for pulling me day by day into giving more shiurim. We'll see. That's certainly it for this week. Who knows what'll be next week? It's very hard here to plan anything in advance. We're kind of living by the hour. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to switch gears and for now think about Shabbos and we have paradoxically almost all of our grandchildren, much closer to us than they are usually. So that's also not for a good reason, but we'll take advantage of it.
Okay, thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos. Take care.
Bye.
להתראות.
Thank you very much.
תודה גם לכם, משה. אוקיי, שבת שלום, בשורות טובות.
תודה רבה. שבת שלום.
תודה, דינה, דש.
תודה.